What's up, guys? Welcome to the Peer Review Podcast. My name is Caleb Davis, and I have notes. I've been pretty good about being consistent with this Monday recording schedule, but I need you guys to cut me a little bit of slack. Yesterday was very busy. I worked until about 4, and then from there, I had to run a few errands, which was supposed to be my recording time. Then I went to the Pistons versus Heat game later on, and I ended up getting home to like 12:30, and then I had to turn around and wake up at 6 in the morning to work again. So cut me a little bit of slack. I'm gonna continue moving forward, but if I have issues like that, it's unforeseeable. But we're gonna try to make the best of it. But for today, I have 3 topics for you guys. I'm gonna start with the Lions, and I just want to touch on a little bit of the team as of right now and the injury bug that's kind of been circulating all season, but has really picked up as of recent. And then I'm gonna move on to the Heat versus Pistons game. And I was actually live in person for this game, so I'm so excited to talk about it. It was an insane game. Just probably one of the best NBA games that I've ever been able to be in person and witness. So very exciting experience. I got to go with 2 of my cousins. It was a great time. And then I'm gonna finish off the video with a little bit about the Kings versus Nuggets, and I'm gonna call it kind of a clutch off or a clutchathon, however you wanna word it, but it was just a back and forth game down the stretch and just very exciting and just a lot of great hoops yesterday. I can't even lie. But with the Lions, they're currently sitting at a 12-2 record on the season after the loss to the Bills on Sunday, and we have the Vikings right on our tails right now. They're also sitting at 12-2 with the exact same record, and Sunday's loss was disappointing, not because we lost the game, but just because of how many players we lost, how we lost them, and the ramifications of losing them. As of Sunday, so before the game, we were sitting at 18 injuries, like current total injuries to our roster, which was first in the league. The runner-up was the Browns with 16 injuries, and then after the game, that total moved up to 22 because we lost 4 key players in that game to season-ending injuries, which is just, I feel like that's unheard of. Like, I know injuries happen, but 4 pivotal players all suffering season-ending injuries, like, just an insane game. And I wasn't able to catch the entire game. Like, I saw clips and highlights. My internet was a little spotty during the day, so that was a little frustrating as well. I would just hear about the injury on Twitter and just be mad because I couldn't see what happened. But it is what it is. But I'm going to talk about each of the 4 injuries. So, for starters, we lost Aleem McNeil, our defensive tackle. He suffered a torn ACL, which is frustrating for him, for starters, but frustrating in general because he's been our best defensive lineman, especially since Hutchins went down. And I just feel like our defense, we're dropping like flies. And I just feel like this stuff is unheard of, like the amount of injuries we've been going through. And I'm not writing this team off by any stretch. I know a lot of people are starting to jump off the bandwagon and starting to doubt. I'm going to let the chips fall where they may. I still have faith in this team. We still have a great offense, and I'm going to talk about that moving forward. But for the next injury, Carlton Davis, he suffered a broken jaw, and this one was kind of weird to me. I guess you can consider this not being season-ending because there's a potential of him to return. He's supposed to be out for about 6 weeks, so he could return for the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. But this one was weird to me because a broken jaw is not a super common injury in the NFL, because you have like your helmet and your like you're more protected, like that area. Like you're more likely to see injuries like I don't know, like a sprain or like a torn ligament or broken limbs or fingers, like things like that. So it was just on top of all the other injuries in this game. This one was like a head scratcher, and I was trying to look for the play, like where it happened. I wasn't able to find it, but my guess is like he got hit and like his head kind of snapped back and like he got hit under his helmet or like his helmet. I don't know how it happened exactly, but I was trying to picture it in my head, like how this could have taken place. So my guess is some type of like his neck was turned and he got hit, or, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm wishing him the best, and I'm hoping he does make that recovery for the NFC Championship game. Knock on wood, if we're so ever gracious to make it there. But yeah, just another devastating loss. Now this next one hurt me a lot because I think I was watching like on the play it happened because they took him out after, and like the announcers didn't really pick up on it. But David Montgomery, he suffered our running back, part of our running back duo, Monty and Gibbs. He suffered a torn MCL, and it wasn't his entire MCL. It was like I was reading like reports. It's like partially torn, but it's severe. And that's just unfortunate. Like I said, we had this insane running back tandem, and that's kind of been our thing all year. I forget the comparison. It was like Sonic, and I don't watch Sonic, but Sonic and his boy. That's what they're comparing them to, and the two of them, and it's just sad to see him go down. Moving forward, we're gonna have to be a lot more reliant on Gibbs, which is a little scary because like having the two of them allowed you to like monitor their usage, and like they could take plays off, and you could go all out because you have a guy backing you up who's an insane running back just like you. So it gives you a little more peace of mind. But I guess to spin it in a positive light, our third string running back, Craig Reynolds, he's not that bad. And he hasn't played a lot for us. Like he's only played 12 snaps this season, but he's solid, and that's what we have. So that's what we're gonna have to play, and we're just gonna have to hope that these guys that are filling into these roles are able to step up to the challenge. And with my optimistic self, I think they will. And then for the fourth injury that kind of rounded out the game, we lost Khalil Dorsey. He's one of our special team guys, like one of our very important special team guys. He kind of had a similar injury to Hutch. If you I saw it on Twitter. It was X. It was nasty. His foot like snapped backwards. But it's a tibia slash fibia. It was like similar to that type of injury. It was labeled as a fracture, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not too sure, but it was rough, and he had to be like airlifted to a local hospital. It was sad. But yeah, we got all these guys going down. But the thing that's so crazy to me is that it all happened in the same game, and a lot of them in the second half. Like, I don't know. And we still almost found a way to win the game. Like the score was 48-42. I'm not super upset about the loss. It's just the loss is like the losing these four players. It's gonna hurt, but I have faith in this team. A couple of things I want to talk about. It's like the mental toll, because seeing this many players, like I don't know if you guys have ever played sport, like seeing your teammates go down, especially multiple teammates in the same game, like it hits you a little bit because it's like damn, especially it's gruesome and like big injuries like this. It takes a toll a little bit, but these guys are NFL professionals. They understand it's part of the game, and they know what they signed up for. I've been seeing people talk about that. I don't think that's really going to have that much of an effect. Like, obviously, you're wishing your teammates well, but you got to keep pushing forward. And that leads to my next point. You got to stay positive. We still have a great offense. We still have a great head coach. We still have a great quarterback. And guys are going to be returning. Like I said, we have 22 guys out right now as of, what was it, Monday's injury report. We're going to start getting guys back. And we might have I talked about this in a couple videos back, but we might have a possible Hutch sighting. So just keeping our fingers crossed and just letting this team play. I'm expecting a solid end to the season. And we have what we have, but this is still a great team, and I'm expecting a lot from them. And my last thing on the Lions before I move on to the Heat vs Pistons, people are talking about Dan Campbell and his gambles. That rhyme, that wasn't on purpose, but they were like, especially in that game, in the beginning of the fourth, like he went for that onside kick too early, yada yada yada. I just feel like you cannot play the results. And this goes for anything life, any sport, yes, hindsight is 2020. Like you shouldn't have done that when it doesn't work. But when it works, people are ecstatic. Everyone's okay with it. Everyone's happy about it. So you can't be happy when it works and then upset when it doesn't. Like that's his play style. That's what's taken us this far. That's what's worked. He plays the analytics and it has worked for us. And you can't go back on it now because things go wrong. And Dan, I saw he had an interview. I don't know if you guys saw it, where he talked about like the moldy bread. Like you got to get back to get used to eating shit basically. Like guys were just the fan base. Everyone was up on their high horse, and he was saying like this was kind of good to knock everyone down a peg and humble us a little bit. And I think that's what it's going to do. And that's just what I'm hoping for. Like I said, I'm an optimist. I like to remain positive. So I am looking forward to our next game and just to see how we come out. I'm expecting a big win. I think I'm going to be fired up. But that's all I have on the Lions right now. Don't play the result. Well, don't play the results. It's just I feel like it's a losing battle. But that's just me. Now moving on to the Heat versus Pistons. This game was insane. Being one of the I don't know like 10 Heat fans in the arena, I wore my Heat jersey. I was so excited to be there. For those of you who don't know, the Heat are my favorite team. The Pistons are second, and then I would say they're third until LeBron retires because any team he's on, I kind of root for. But that's just how it goes for me. But I want to give kind of a play-by-play of the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter because the Heat were down, what was it, about 14 points. And somehow, some way, they climbed back and ended up sending this game to overtime. They inevitably ended up losing, but just to fight back and send it to overtime was insane. So the last 3 minutes of the fourth is what I'm going to give you. So to start it off, Tyler Hero, he was having a horrible game. I think he went 4 for 17 on threes. Like at this point, he was like 1 for what would that be? 1 for 12, 1 for 13. Like not having a good game by any stretch. He hits a three. And this was right after he like hit a midi. So he started, to find his rhythm. I think he got a layup and then like a midi. So, you see the ball going, you start to feel a little bit more confident. That's what was going on there. So he hits a three. K comes down. He shoots a three. He misses. Okay, we get the rebound. We come down. Terry Rozier gets a layup. And then the Pistons turn it over. So this is when I'm in my seat. I'm starting to stand up. The Heat are starting to climb back. Like I'm yelling at my cousins. I'm yelling at the crowd. There's people around me. People looking at me like, who is this crazy Heat guy? Like what is he doing? I don't know. But after the Pistons turn over, Tyler Hero comes down again, hits another big three, and this one was pretty contested. So now everybody, oh my God, the crowd, everybody's going crazy. It's a close game at this point. I believe before this, it's 109 to 112. Okay. Pistons come down. They run a pick and roll. Amen Thompson is wide open in the corner. This is on purpose, though. The Heat are leaving him because he's not a good shooter. He's not. That's not an insult to him. Like that's common knowledge. He's not a good shooter. That's something he has to work on, especially if he wants to become a great player in the league. But wide open for a corner three, he misses it. And I'm going to touch on him later because he had a really good game. There's no hate towards him. Jimmy comes down, gets a layup. It's 111-112 at this point. Pistons go down. K gets 2 free throws. It's 111-114. Now, the Pistons did not have a timeout at this point. The Heat have one. So they have the timeout to get the ball up court and inbound like near their basket. I pointed this out to my cousins. I told them that earlier in the game because when it was about, and I'm going to touch on this when I talk about JV Bickerstaff, but when it was about, I think like 3 minutes or 2 minutes, he called that last time out before the Heat started really coming back. So I said, that's going to come back to bite us. Well, bite you guys because I was rooting for the Heat at this point, but it did. So the Heat come down, they get the ball, and Tyler Hero hits like an outrageous three. That probably should have been an and one. That should have been game over in my opinion. Like if you go back and that was a foul, but he hits a three over 2 people. We go to overtime. Now, real quick, I'll talk about overtime because I know I've been going for a little minute. But we get in overtime. The Heat go up quick. They go up by 8 points. Usually, when you go up that much in overtime, like the game's kind of over. You can kind of hold the ball, waste the clock, yada yada yada. The Heat did a terrible job in overtime, scoring with their shot selection, defense, like everything just fell apart for them, and it was so frustrating. So, like I said, the Heat go up quick, go up 8 really quick. And then Tim Hardaway, who was not having the best game, just heats up out of nowhere. And he hits a three. Okay, you see the first one going. Everybody, the Pistons have life. He comes down, he hits another three. Okay, like, all right, he's really starting to heat up. And then the third three, and this one kind of annoyed me because it felt like everybody in the building, outside of the 5 Heat players on the floor, knew that Tim Hardaway was going to shoot this three. So he comes down on the fast break, and I feel like that's the one guy you shouldn't be leaving open in this situation. He just hit 2. He comes down, hits another huge three. The Pistons go up by 1. And at this point, the game, it felt like it was over. But then the Pistons, which is like, they had a ton of 21 turnovers in this game. Like, it was insane. But this one was just like mind-boggling. They threw a turnover off the inbound to no one. Like, it was a horrible turnover. The Heat come down. They can't score. They end up missing a bunch of shots, bunch of bad shots, and that's the game. It was, I can't, I hope I was able to showcase and replay that with the amount of excitement, and the game was insane. But I want to talk about the Pistons first, because I feel like this game showed a lot of growth from them, and just in general this season, like when they've been in close games. Last year they would lose every single one. This year they're winning a lot of these games, and that just shows improvement, and that's all you really want to see in this team as they move forward and continue to progress. I want to cut them some more slack, because the Pistons were out without Jaden Ivey, who's our second leading scorer, and then without Tobias Harris, which was just a veteran on the team. Hasn't been having a great season, but he's been solid. But Cade came through. He was the story of this game for the Pistons. He had 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 18 assists. Like, that's just an outrageous triple-double. 18 assists. And I think he only had like 4 turnovers with the 18. Like, this just, and the ball was in his hands like every single play. Like, he was just surgical, finding everyone, hitting. Like, he had shooters hitting shots. That helps, but he played an insane game. Now, the question you may ask is, how do the Pistons win a game with 21 turnovers? Normally, when you turn the ball over that much, you're not going to win that game. It was because they went 20 for 40 from 3. They were 50% from 3. Like, everybody was hitting shots, it felt like. And some of the notable players from this game, like, I want to, obviously, Tim Hardaway Jr., like, in overtime, he carried them to the win. But Malik Beasley, like, during the game, he hit 7 threes and he had 28 points. And it felt like every single time the Heat would start inching back, boom, there's another Malik Beasley 3. Here's another pull up, fade into his right. Malik Beasley, like, just hitting every shot. He's in the corner, a little contested. Oh, he's still shooting it. Like, it felt every single time. It felt like he was hitting it. And then one other player outside of Cade I want to give some props to is Amen Thompson. He had 19 points, 9 rebounds, 4 steals, and a block. And he spent time on literally every one of the Heat star players in this game. Like, he had some times where he was switched on the Bam. Did a great job. Jimmy had an insane game and an insane triple-double, but he did a good job guarding Jimmy. He did a good job, like, on Tyler Hero. Like I said, Tyler Hero had a pretty bad game. I don't think that was an accident. Like, he had Amen Thompson guarding him. Like, he is a great defender, and that's what he does. He shuts guys down. And that's kind of what happened. So props to him. He got moved into the starting role this game because Tobias Harris was out. But he played a great game, and it was exciting to see, especially, like, as a fan. I was happy for him. I hope his opportunities continue to increase, and he's just getting better and better as he starts to recover and starts to get his legs under him after returning from his injury. One other thing I want to talk about is JB Bickerstaff. Like, I'm loving him as the Pistons head coach. I think he's been doing a really good job with this team. I love that he's so active on the sidelines. Like, when you're watching the game on TV, you don't really get to you don't get to see, like, the little things going on, like how the bench reacts, unless the camera pans to them, or what the coaches are doing. Like, when you're watching the game, like, the entire time, he's up, he's yelling, he's pacing up the sideline, he's yelling at the refs, he's, like, just actively coaching. And I think that's the best type of coaching, because it shows that you're involved, you're engaged in the game. And if not for anything else, it fires up players, because when your coach is giving you that much energy and enthusiasm, like, it makes you want to play harder. And the one other thing, he did that in this game, and that's why they ended up with no timeouts, but they ended up winning. So, like, you can't say much about it. But when he calls timeouts when stuff is going wrong, like, when he sees guys, like, not executing, he'll call a timeout. And he did this thing that, like, Pop does this all the time, especially, like, he used to do it. Like, he'll call a timeout, and, you'll discuss game plan. And if you come out and you fuck up again, he'll call a timeout immediately. And that's what JB was doing as the Pistons were getting walked down at the end of the fourth. Like, I call a timeout, you're gonna give up the same three to Tyler Hero. Okay, I'm calling another one, and it's funny like watching it in real time. But I just love that style of coaching. I think he's gonna be a great coach with the Pistons. And I think he's done a solid job this year. But it was just cool, like I said, being in person, seeing him be so animated, and just picking like same with Spoelstra. Like he was doing the same. He's animated. He's always like that though. I'm a Heat fan. Like I watch him very closely. I've seen it, but it was cool seeing it from the Pistons head coach. And I'm gonna talk about the Heat just real quick, because their offense is literally, hey, give Jimmy the ball, go do something, or hey, Bam, set this screen for Jimmy or not Jimmy, excuse me, set this screen, run this dribble handoff for Tyler or Duncan and hit a tough three. Like that's all they have going for them. And my question is, where is Bam? He had 15 points in this game, but outside of a 3-pointer and like a putback or like force fed dunks or layups, he cannot score the ball. And he doesn't even look to shoot. Like the one shot that he shot in the fourth, and it was a horrible shot. It was like a bad fadeaway. Like he caught it. He had a midi. He had a look, but he's so, I don't know if it's him in his own head. Like I feel like it's a confidence thing, but he didn't even want to shoot that mid range. So instead of shooting it, he looks to, with like 3 seconds, oh, let me go try and force a dribble handoff. Amen Thompson was there. He shut that down. And Bam has to shoot like a tough fadeaway, which like I think he like grazed the rim. Jimmy got a put back miss. But like that's so frustrating. Like you had the shot, the best shot that you were gonna get in that play, and you didn't want to shoot it because you're not confident. And that like working through your like that's not something you could just say, oh, like just shoot. Like I understand it, but it's so frustrating because this was supposed to be the year that he was supposed to take that leap. He's finally developing that 3-point shot, and he's been playing better as of late. But I just feel like his shot selection sometimes, and like going for that fadeaway over the midi, or just he could be a lot better and a lot more productive. And I think that's on the Heat as well. Like I've been saying that to get him involved, and the Heat guards especially, like getting him the ball in spots where he feels comfortable. But it's also on him at a point. Like he's got to be better. Got to be better. He was a no-show, then complete pretty much second half, but the complete on the offensive end, I'll say. The defense, he was really good this game, but complete no-show on the offensive end in the fourth and overtime, and that's disappointing because he is our second best player, second to third, however you categorize Tyler Hero this season. And yeah, if the Heat, one last thing real quick, if the Heat move off of Jimmy, and all the signs are pointing to that this is going to happen. I know they've been denying the reports, but I think that's just optics. But unless guys step up, if Jimmy is traded, I don't know where outside of Tyler offense is going to come from. Like, and that's so frustrating to think about. But for my last topic, I'm gonna touch on the Kings versus Nuggets, the clutchathon that I talked about. And this game was just all offense, just trading buckets back and forth, and especially down the stretch. The Kings were up for a good portion of the start of the fourth. Like they were up about 8 for a while. They go up 7, and every single time the Nuggets would storm back. And I feel like this is like the same story with the Nuggets. Like as a Lakers fan, I've seen them walk them down so many times. I see them walk down so many teams. And just this season, they just win. Like I said at the beginning of the year, like it's bad that they keep ending up in these clutch games because takes energy, it takes like, but if they're just gonna win them every single time, like by all means, like the Kings went up 8 with about 5 minutes left again, and then the Nuggets just walked them down. And the biggest shot during that run, I would say, was Aaron Gordon. After 2 of the Nuggets guys went down on the other end, and he comes up and hits this pull-up 3. Like it's such a gutsy shot, but he shot it and he makes it, and he cuts it to it was like 121, 122. And now this is about a minute and 20 left in the game. Over the last minute of the game, you had 7 lead changes. So just back and forth, back and forth. And that was fun to watch. I can't lie. But that all goes on. And then for the game winner, Jamal Murray gets to his, that patented, he'll shoot his pull-up midi. And you kind of knew it was going in. He made the shot. And the Kings come down. And they ran a great play. Like Sabonis had a floater he could have took. He could have took it to the rim, maybe got a foul. He passed it to DeRozan, which like I think he should have shot the floater. But he was having a good game. But it wasn't a bad pass. DeRozan just fumbled it, and the Nuggets win. And the final score was 130 to 129. But this game was all offense. Like, all 5 starters for both teams were in double digits. Every Kings starter had 15 plus points, and the Kings had 3 guys with 25 plus. So just a crazy game. And Russ and Jokic nearly both had triple doubles. Like, Jokic had his, and Russ was 1 rebound short. And it kind of felt like he knew it. Like, he was crashing for rebounds. And his last assist to Jokic, like, he had a 3. He faked that he was going to shoot it, and then he tossed it back to Jokic, like, near the paint, and he got, like, an easy floater. Great. Westbrook played great in the starting lineup, and this game was just a great game. Just a great, like, yesterday was just a great day for basketball, like, nonetheless. And I was just very grateful. I got to see a bunch of great games, and I had a great time. But that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Peer Review Podcast. Please make sure to share the podcast with your friends and family, as well as follow us on X at peerreview_pod and on TikTok at Peer Review Podcast to stay up to date with our latest episodes and releases. That's all I have for today. This is the Peer Review, signing off.